360 deal question, and it kind of touches on what Gary was talking about with the incentive by the labels. Now that the labels are wanting to take a percentage of touring and merchandising from the artists, do you see that the labels are going to invest money now into setting up tours for the artists where they'll actually make money, setting up merchandising to help the artists make more money, or are they just going to still now sit back and try to audit the artists later? Most of my clients are getting paid in cash anyway for their tours, so I don't know how they'll ever know what they're making anyway.
Well, that's a reverse audit issue, isn't it? Usually it's the artists that are auditing the label and can't find the money.
Right.
Auditing the artists and can't find the money.
I have to wish them luck, too, in getting the money several months later from the artist.
Well, that's very similar to an artist trying to get it from a label, isn't it? During an audit. Probably the most contentious issue that one ever has with like a label is like an audit. But Michael,
my experience has been that you can negotiate, funding of touring into those deals. The theory is that if they're not just chasing one income stream, they have some incentive to be involved in other income streams, and the right thing for that artist is to tour, then they should be more open to not focusing on whether they're throwing good money after bad as much as they have been in the past. That's the theory behind it.
I see that perhaps the traditional record companies are going to give way in many instances like this Live Nation deal to those touring companies that have had a stronghold in the area, who are then evolving with having their own labels. I talked with Michael Cole's company, and they are, I guess it's Concert Productions International and also Grand Entertainment. Their whole theory is we should, again, sign these overall 360 deals. We will sign artists who we think have great touring potential. They have to be, obviously, artists that they think they can exploit through the live touring system that they have established and they're doing very well with. And then they will roll out a tour with the artist. They will pay for that tour. There will be a certain split of the revenues. And obviously they will merchandise. One of the things that they did in that company was, for example, make sure that they harnessed the television revenues. They did Streisand, and they ended up, of course, licensing that television show to, I believe it was HBO or Showtime, something along those lines. They will then utilize that footage on the DVD and sell that footage as well, and that will be another income stream available to them. And they will merchandise. And the thing about the Madonna tour, for example, that they may do and many artists would like to do is obviously have some kind of a clothing line or a fashion line that they can then license their name to. And I believe for her first year, according to what I read, they were like $20 million in revenues that were pulled down in that arena alone, that area also. So I think what will happen is that perhaps the traditional record companies will have to joint venture with the touring companies and with other entities that can allow them to exploit these revenue streams, or alternately, as Live Nation has done and as Michael Cole and Concert Productions International and Grand Entertainment will do, they'll really try to build out intrinsically, internally, all of these areas of the company so they can garner all the revenue streams.
What about situations where you've got Warner's in Japan bought or purchased one of the largest management companies, or you've got Universal in the UK buying one of the biggest live agency businesses? Maybe it's a matter of, rather than labels putting money in, they will start purchasing parts of the puzzle to create that 360 model.
Well, just a reality check here. I mean, it's one thing for Live Nation to do a deal with Madonna, but is Live Nation going to engage in serious artist development? Are they going to fund, exciting new bands, and let them sell an album or two or three until they hit? I don't think so. I think the record labels still have an important role to play.
Well, that's why I bring up the Grand Entertainment and Concert Productions area, because they are not Live Nation. Live Nation owns, I believe, 50% of that company, or those companies, but they certainly are in the business of looking at particularly artists who they would build and they would grow with and they would sign and they would put money behind and they would help develop if they see the potential there to exploit them across.
On a JV basis.
Yeah.
I also think you've got a situation where Live Nation produces so many club shows that they're going to be able to see if some artist in, wherever, it could be Minneapolis or Milwaukee's, you know, there's some local artist that's getting 1,000 paid customers. Well, obviously there's something emotive happening with that audience. And if they can tour that band then through all of their House of Blues venues around North America and build a base, then cut a record deal. You know, I think they have the future A&R vision that maybe the labels haven't had for quite a long time. Labels have been so focused upon radio and purely media-driven ways of breaking artists. And I think if you look at some of the more successful artists over the last decade, they're all touring-based artists. There's not been a lot of artists who've had long-term careers who have broken through radio and then toured. Usually it was touring, and radio finally discovered them. You know, sometimes in the case of U2, radio discovered them on their third album, not the first two albums. It was always a laugh when, you know, I hear a DJ going, "This is a brand new band from their first album," and it was like U2. It was like they're on album 3 then. So I think there's many different models, and I think that Live Nation, through what Michael Cole's doing, through what Grant and CPI is doing, and they've been working on that model, I know for a fact, for at least 8 years. This is not something that they thought of yesterday. I think that the record companies have a new competition that they never figured that they would basically have. And it's a far more, it's not a big ship. It's actually a very, very fast ship that can turn very, very fast corners.